Shalom, shalom. This video is about the Gospel of John chapter 6, verse 16 to 21. It's about the disciples' cry for salvation from terror. I'll read the text for you. Now when evening came, Yeshua's disciples went down to the sea, getting into a boat. They set out across the sea towards Capernaum, that is sailing about 10 kilometers directly northwards from Tiberias. By now it had become dark, and still Yeshua had to come to them. A great wind began to blow, stirring up the sea. After they had rowed about 25 or 30 stadia, that's almost halfway, more or less 4 to 5 kilometers of the 10-kilometer trip, they caught sight of Yeshua walking on the sea, approaching the boat, and they were terrified. But Yeshua said to them, "I am, don't be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and right away the boat reached the shore where they were headed. John is very brief in relaying this event to us, and the corresponding passages from the Synoptic Gospels shed far more light on it. On the boat trip down from Capernaum, they encountered a storm whilst Yeshua was sleeping in the bottom of the boat, and once they woke him up, he commanded the wind and the waves to calm down. Now, on the return journey, he tested their faith by letting them face a storm without him being in the boat with them. They fared better than before, rowing against a strong and probably a northerly wind, keeping the bow facing into the waves. As experienced fishermen regularly fishing at night, they would have normally have avoided the stormy conditions because they would have known how to read the weather. On both trips, we can assume that they took to the Galilee on Yeshua's command against their better judgment. But Yeshua's intent was to teach them a practical lesson and to test about their faith on the way down, and then the examination without Yeshua on board on the return journey back to Capernaum after they witnessed the multiplication of bread. This prepared them for their mission and calling in life. Like a good guardian or parent or teacher, Yeshua still watched over his disciples during this examination. He followed their progress on foot by walking across the lake after them. And when their struggle against the elements became too hard to bear, he stepped in, and they saw him in the moonlight walking on the water. And this was completely unexpected. Yeshua seemed as a ghost to the disciples. Not for the first time either, or not for the last time either. When he first appeared to them after his resurrection, they also mistook him for a ghost, remember? In this night, the storm on the sea, they took him for a terror by night, like the destroyer of the 10th plague in Egypt. And their screaming prayer was for salvation. In Hebrew, Yeshua's name means salvation. So they were calling to him for salvation. Save us, please. He was their salvation on this night and in eternity. Remember that all of the disciples died as martyrs for their faith. And sometimes people would say, except for John, but those people forget that John lived to a ripe old age after he survived being boiled alive in oil by Roman Emperor Domitian. On this night, though, Yeshua saved them. In their martyrdom, he comforted them within the situation. As a sideways thought, I just wonder how this fits with the pop theology of a pre-trib rapture. Maybe if you subscribe to that, you can explain this to me in the comments below. Well, like the disciples did, we too have to step out in faith, sometimes against our better judgment, to accomplish Adonai's commands. On occasion, this will plunge us headfirst into the coming storms, but as long as we remain within his will, he will preserve us and keep us from drowning, or he will be with us, comforting us when it serves his greater plan for us to succumb in the process. We must be willing to pay that price. He will miraculously see us through to the other side, be it to the other side of the lake in Capernaum, the place of rest and comfort, or to eternity, the greater place of comfort and rest. So don't blink. Trust Him. Have faith in Yeshua to come through for you and for me in the right moment. To His disciples in their moment of terror and to us in our moments of fearful doubt, Yeshua said and still says, I am, don't be afraid. He's with us as He was with them on that night. Once the disciples recognized Yeshua and let Him into their boat, then suddenly, miraculously, they found themselves at Capernaum. And the name Capernaum means the place of comfort and rest. The examination was over for them, and they were ready for their greater mission. In the Greek text, Yeshua's words are given as ego eimi, followed by a comma, not a full stop, and then me phobeista, which can be loosely translated that it was Him, Yeshua, and not a phobia or a terror or a ghost. In the original Hebrew text, Yeshua's word, I am, may have been Ayeh, the shortened name that Adonai revealed to Moses when He said His name was Ayeh Asher Ayeh, which means I will be what I will be, a name in the future tense. I will be what I will be. And this indicates His consistency, that He is constant in the future as He was in the past. So we too, like the disciples, we must listen and obey. We can take Yeshua on His words. He is the salvation in our storms. So shalom, shalom.